You are now listening to the smooth sounds of Loveatiya. Ciao, beautiful souls. My name's Atiya, and I am your future bestie in your head. I am a sex-positive animal activist. I grew up in Queens, New York, and was homeschooled/unschooled for about 12 years. I was a virgin until I was 24 and attempted to have a hoe phase for 2 years, which eventually led me to being accidentally/intentionally celibate. And here we are today. My past left me with a lot of wild stories, a lot of lessons, and a hell of a lot of trauma. Thank God for my wicked sense of humor, because God only knows I would have perished by now. With that being said, this is your gentle reminder that the Loveatiya experience was created as a safe space for me to reflect and share the lessons that I've learned from past traumas. Shit gets real on this podcast, and topics such as domestic violence, sexual assault, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and suicide may be referenced. If you are working through feeling triggered by certain topics, this may not be the show for you right now, and that's okay. Healing takes time and isn't linear. I'll be here when you're ready. Now, without further ado, the Loveatiya experience is an experience. So get ready for laughs, crazy story times, and life-changing pleasure tips here on the Loveatiya Experience podcast. What's up, beautiful souls? It's your favorite person on this whole entire world, Earth planet, Loveatiya, and you are going to hear this episode that I referenced, that this episode is episode 14. It actually is not. This is the episode that I recorded a while ago and decided to finally post now that I officially have my web series up on my YouTube. So I figured it's a great time to be able to introduce the web series and talk to y'all about why I had to reshoot my web series back in 2017, why I had to fire a majority of my casting crew, why I had to abruptly stop shooting season 2 of my web series. And let's also talk about how I met my ex and how fucked up that was and how we ended up here. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the story. What's up, beautiful souls? It's your girl, Atiti. And not my neighbor having a piano lesson right now, but I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to hear it, but they're beautiful. If you can hear me, it's beautiful. I don't know if they can hear me, but they probably are hearing the piano instead. But anyways, I hope that y'all are having an amazing day. I'm so excited because it's time to record this podcast. And, you know, I don't know if y'all know this, but I be doing this shit so last minute. Like, after my podcast conference, I was on it. I was batching content. I was really motivated and inspired. And then this, like, invisible depression hit. And also just moving out of the country was just hectic and chaotic. That shit, oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I still haven't told y'all all the stories about this move, but that's not the point of this episode today. Because I told y'all I want to talk about that with my mom because it's going to be extra comical. But with that being said, I was like so late on my podcast. I mean, I don't know if y'all peeped, but like one of my episodes came out like in the middle of the week last week or 2 weeks ago. And then there was like an episode that posted 2 days after that. So anyways, I just wanted to share some fun stories with y'all. And it's crazy because I was actually trying to look at some videos of my grandma on my computer that I have. I want to say they're like never before seen, but I just took them when I wasn't really, it was so much stuff going on in my life that I wasn't really able to enjoy them when I took them. But why is Apple so petty? So I'm trying to download the videos and they're like, oh, you need internet. Since when, bitch? Since fucking when? You're holding me back from my grandma. Because as I expressed to y'all before, that Sunday or whenever, I don't know when y'all are hearing this, I'm gonna say 2 Sundays ago, I don't even, when is this getting posted, whatever, at some point on the 16th made the 1 year anniversary of her transition, and I can't believe she fucking left me here on this treacherous ass earth. Such a Leo, but it's okay. I'm happy for her. And I'm sure she's doing a lot better than how we are doing as humans on this earth. So yeah, I'm super grateful for all the blessings she's provided. Anyways, sentimental. I'm also making this podcast because I feel like I am sometimes on the brink of going down a rabbit hole of like anger or sadness or what. And usually, you know, anger is a misdirected feeling, so it usually is really something else that you're feeling, but it just shows itself as anger. So I felt like I just wanted to talk about something really lighthearted today, because like I said, just regarding my grandma and her passing, like it was a lot that went into that whole situation, and I'm still actively healing from it, and I don't think that I gave myself enough time, or I'm giving myself enough time. In my mind, I'm like, God damn, it's been a year, so I should feel, a lot more healed. But no, like 2022 was traumatic as fuck. Like, no, when I look back at the pictures, I see the trauma in my eyes. Like, I see it. So I wanted to talk about something pretty lighthearted. And I honestly, at the time, the story that I'm going to tell you didn't feel all that lighthearted. But looking back on it, I want to say that the story I'm about to tell, which is about 2017, was probably one of the, do I want to say the best years of my life? I'll say that it was one of the best years of my life only because so much shit happened. So with that being said, I would like to have some type of conclusion to this, or maybe I'll end it with like a masturbation tip. Per usual, I'll have the sex toy highlight, but yeah, we're just going to dive into the story because there's a lot to unpack. And then I'll take a break, tell y'all about a new sex toy that I want to put y'all onto, and then I'll end it with the masturbation tip, and we'll add some more story in between there. Okay. So with that being said, I wrote out a list of the characters. It's going to be a lot of people, all right? And I tried not to make it hard because in real life, everybody's name sounds alike. Literally, everybody had the same name, basically, a different variation of the same name. So I tried to remix that. And also, I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but I wrote a web series. It's called Pure the Series. And there was actually supposed to be a part 2 of Pure the Series. And I never acknowledged this. I think it's because I felt so much shame, honestly, regarding the surrounding circumstances. But for those of you who did care about Pure, in 2018, I wrote a web series all about 2017 and about everything that I had experienced that last year. And it was really cathartic for me. I had this quote unquote love story in my head of the way that things unfolded with my ex, who wasn't my ex at the time. He was just like a situationship. But the story was so like crazy, and there was so many different characters involved that I felt like it was really healing for me to be able to write this script regarding my love life. And the title underneath Pure was that it's a 75% true story on my sad ass love life. Now, recently, I repurposed these videos and put them on my own personal YouTube. And that was really big for me because I had accumulated a couple of views on my Pure the Series page. I think my highest amount of views was like 5.5K, which was a lot for me on YouTube, honestly. But I just wanted to kind of start fresh, get some new energy, I guess, and really just bring it to my newer audience. And I've been trying to kind of mesh all of my accomplishments together, and I feel like they're so spread apart. So we're starting over. But a lot of you had been not begging, I'm not going to say begging, but a lot of you had been asking eagerly and excitedly for Pure 2. What y'all don't know, or some of y'all don't know this, is that I actually started recording Pure 2 with an amazing cast, with an amazing crew. And I want to say 2 or 3 months into production, we had to take a pause because it was around like the holidays. And then shortly after the holidays happened, we had COVID. Literally COVID hit and the world shut down. But that's actually not why production stopped. I personally feel like the holidays and COVID, I don't think that they happened. Well, I don't know why they happened, but I think that they forced me to be real with myself because behind the scenes, I was going through it. Now, before we even get to why I was going through it, I remember I was talking to my therapist about it last year, and I was telling her how utterly guilty I felt because I just shut production down. I never really announced it to anybody. I spoke to my like main cast members, or I want to say like the starring cast members, or what is that word? Not co-stars, but main cast, right? Because to me, everybody was a main cast member. Everybody's role had a point, but I had some people that were in Pure 1 that I felt like really needed to know, well, I feel like I could really be transparent with, like utterly transparent with, as well as my videographer, who is absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to work with him again. I can't wait to work with this whole cast again. But I just ghosted. I literally ghosted the production, and I was so ashamed of it. And I remember talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, would you consider writing out an email or writing out a letter? I wrote out a whole email, like had the whole draft in my notes, still have it in my notes, and I just couldn't get myself to send it. I remember I had made a group me at one point or something like that, some type of group chat, and I had the whole cast in it so that I could just, communicate with everybody a bit easier. And I don't really know what conversations happened in that group chat, but I remember I had gone back to that group chat, and my friend, one of the main cast members, had commented and was like, y'all, please stop. Like, I'm getting notifications from this chat, this, that, and the third. And I was like, they're probably talking shit about me. They're probably saying, I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. I dropped off the face of the earth. Like, I went down a whole rabbit hole, deleted the whole app. Like, never even just, I just couldn't face the shame, honestly. So if you are somebody, if you are one of, I think the 17, maybe 14, it was between 14 and 17 cast members that I cast for Pure the Series Part 2. I hope that this finds you. I hope that you somehow stumble across this. And maybe one day, truly and honestly, I will still send that email. Maybe after sharing this podcast, I'll feel more courage to share the email. But I think talking it through is really helpful for me right now. But the true reason why I never finished Pure 2 was because I was in an abusive relationship and my abusive partner was in the cast. And so that was very, very hard for me because I would be on set and me and the videographer had a great friendship. I feel as though we had a great relationship, and that fucked with my ex. And it was like, I felt like I wasn't able to authentically interact with my videographer without it being a problem. I wasn't able to interact with any guy on my set without it being a problem. I couldn't laugh too hard. I had to always include him. I had him doing some technological things for me at one point, and then I remember that was a problem, and his self-esteem, when I first met him, his self-esteem seemed so high, and you'll hear about that eventually in this story. But fast forward, I realized that was really like a representative that I had met, and his self-esteem was far from high. So he doubted himself a lot on set, and having to lift him up while also just authentically lifting my cast up in general, and just trying to is the word mitigate? I don't even know, trying to navigate being abused while having to put on this face that everything is okay in our relationship, and having to give him this energy while he's also putting on this show for other people. It was a lot. I'll be honest with you. My body was breaking down. My mind was breaking down. I didn't have the energy that I was supposed to have. And again, I was not able to have this authentic relationship with my cast for season 2 that I had with my cast for season 1. Also, what a lot of you don't know is that when I recorded Pure the Series season 1, what you see on my YouTube is not what was first recorded. I had a totally different cast. I had a totally different crew, and there was so much drama behind Pure 1 to the point where I ended up having to pay. I saved up $2,000. Well, I earned $2,000 from GoFundMe. GoFundMe took, I want to say, like 20% of my earnings, so that left me with do the math, and then I ended up having to pay more than half of my earnings to my videographer because I want to, it's almost like extortion, but because he was mad because oh my God, I feel like I want to start the story from scratch so that you can kind of get the full spectrum, because we got time. So I met my videographer for the original Pure on a different set, and when he found out that I was shooting Pure, I originally intended to shoot Pure myself. I had written out the script. I had gotten a new Sony camera. I was going to buy some mics and stuff like that. And so this guy reached out to me, because I moved to Atlanta to act. So this guy reached out to me and was like, oh, by the way, I'm going to get back to the whole Pure 2 thing, but you guys basically get the gist. But I just wanted to show y'all like the journey of Pure before getting to Pure 2, before getting to the actual story. So met this guy on set. He knew that I was an actress, obviously, because we met on set. And then he knew that I was writing Pure because I was posting about it actively. And it was looking really legit. Like I really had a lot, I'm a Virgo. So I'm very attentive and I'm very precise when it comes to my marketing and when it comes to my creativity. So it seemed like something that people were really excited about. And so this videographer DM'd me and said, hey, like I went to school for this. I know like the ins and outs of film. So I'm down to work with you for free, no cost, at no cost. And yeah, I can help you with the editing, this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, great. So then again, this is for Pure Part 1, right? I got the locations, I got the logistics of the locations, because we had to talk on the phone. And I feel like he's also another reason why I was so in my head about certain things. There were certain things that could have went very smooth for me. Like I was trying to get permits to record at places. And in my mind, I was going to submit to film festivals and stuff like that. But you also needed these, in my mind, from what I knew, you needed these logistical things. Like I thought, because of this is what I was told and what I was taught, that you were going to have to show proof that you were allowed to use these locations. You were allowed to use this music. So I was kind of over logisticizing, if that's even a word, my production already instead of just focusing on the story itself. So fast forward, I have a videographer, great. He ended up bringing somebody else on for sound, great. Like, these are things that I wasn't really expecting to do. I was just gonna film some shit and put it on YouTube. My aunt let me use her house for some of the scenes, and everything was really seeming like it was aligning. My cast was great. I had really gone through an extensive audition process. But midway through filming, I realized that I had set this goal of wanting to make my home feel like home for everybody else, right? I wanted my set to feel like home. I wanted people to feel like they could be authentically themselves. And we shot a lot of Pure in my house. When I tell y'all that I went in for like crafty, because remember, when I first moved to Atlanta in 2016, I had done a lot of background work, and I felt like I was treated like the shit on the bottom of somebody's shoe, like in every single set I was on. And the sets that I was treated well on, I remember those sets. Like the set of Atlanta, the show from Donald Glover, that was one of my favorite sets ever. I have vivid memories of acting on that set. I felt so well taken care of. We ate well. I made friends. We got hair and makeup done. It was my first experience in all that. I got camera time. Y'all got to see me on screen. It was amazing. So I wanted to make sure that I made everybody on my set feel important. So I bought the best food for people. Even though I was vegan, I was unfortunately buying chicken at the time. Like, this is what I thought people wanted. And it's crazy because I remember at the end of the set, I was always left with some meat. Like, they would go for the vegan shit, but they would never eat the meat. I'm like, so why am I appeasing these people if they're not even going to eat the meat and I'm wasting meat? Now I'm wasting meat. It was horrible. But my point is that I did everything. I was the writer. I was the director. I was an actress in Pure. I did crafty, which is like the food. I did wardrobe. I helped with hair. I'm just saying, like, everything when it came to logistical things, I had my hands in everything. I was literally Beyonce. And eventually my cast started becoming friends with each other, and they started having relationships outside of Pure, and I thought that was great for the chemistry, right? So I thought. Now, when I did my casting, I can't even lie, I didn't quite do it like, verbatim. Like, I didn't say, this person looks like this person, or this person can come off as this person. I really didn't. I was just like, who is a cast that's going to be like super endearing and attractive? And I mean, because I felt like all my friends in the story in real life were endearing and attractive. So as long as I got that, it didn't matter if they looked exactly like the person, right? But I had hired this guy who was really more of a model, and I think that this was his first time really acting. Because I remember eventually he started bringing scripts from other productions on my set, and in between us shooting, he'd literally be like laying on my bed, to say that we're shooting a scene in the bed, he'd be laying in my bed reading over a script for another like short that he was doing or another web series that he was doing. You probably are thinking like, well, that's fine, like it's downtime. But then when it's time to shoot, he wouldn't know his lines for Pure. He literally wouldn't know his own lines. So I'm like, you cannot be studying somebody else's lines trying to get it right for another production when you can't even get it right for my production. And then he started, I guess, getting feelings for this girl that was also cast on my production. And so they started shooting scenes together. And I remember at one point he had brought over his modeling book to the house randomly and just had us all like looking at his like naked pictures in this modeling book. And I remember sitting there with the videographer, like looking at him like, we're trying to get stuff done here. You're literally showing us your nudes, but okay, go off, king. Eventually it started getting to be way too much. Like, I remember the girl that I had cast in one of the main roles started like physically touching people's behinds. And now, like right now on my set, like if I was to have a set right now, that would not fly for shit. And it didn't fly for shit at the time. I remember speaking to her about it, but it was unconsensual touching. She was doing it to everybody, to the point where if somebody had their back to her, she'd walk by and just grab their behind. Now, if the roles were reversed and a guy did that to her, she would be utterly disgusted. I believe. I mean, I would be. So definitely had to have a talk with her about that. That was a thing. And it was just so many boundaries that were just being crossed on my set. I remember I had a really intimate scene with my main co-star. And when I tell y'all, one amazing thing that came out of this first section of trying to record Pure was meeting my co-star. He is absolutely, utterly, freaking fantabulously amazing. I don't know if he minds me shouting him out, but I'll reach out to him and see if he minds. But yeah, he's amazing. You'll see him when you watch Pure. But he was such a blessing and such a gem. And I feel like I had really made a close friend from this experience. I'm really grateful for that. But I remember we had this makeout scene, right? And I felt really comfortable with him. He felt really comfortable with me. It was our first time doing that on camera in general. But the other co-star, the guy who was the model, I remember first of all, he said he wanted to be in the room to like watch it. And I even feel like he might have been in the room. No, I couldn't have let that happen. I can't really remember, to be honest with y'all. I really can't remember. But I remember him making comments like, yeah, because if that was me, like just making really, really, really inappropriate comments that weren't boosting anybody's self-esteem. Like they literally weren't making either of us feel comfortable at all. And he just, I don't know. I don't know. He just was who he was, and he just wasn't right for my production. So where I feel like I went, I'll say wrong, but this is just human shit, and I learned from it most definitely, was I had a Halloween party, and it was supposed to be a wrap party for everybody right at the end. We had finished shooting everything. Now, let me just rewind a little bit before I get to that party. There was also a rift between me and my videographer, because at some point he started saying, well, yeah, I want my production company to be the first name that's on the credits, and I want this, that, and the third, and started just going in about like all of these hierarchies that he wanted to have, even though we had never discussed this before. He was also one of the only people that I didn't have sign a contract. I had everybody else sign a contract, and I was on it except for him. And he had all my footage. So at the end of the night, he was supposed to dump all of the footage onto my computer and then be good. But I feel like he did dump some of the footage, but he didn't dump all of it, and then he still had the footage on his computer. So in my mind, at any point in time, he could do whatever he wanted with the footage if he really was grimy. But I feel like my real breaking point when it came to that, well, first of all, I remember him asking me when we were going somewhere shopping for props, he asked me if I had feelings for anybody on set. And I said, no, I don't think that's appropriate. Like, I'm literally the whole director, so no. And then he kind of tried to hint to something of that sort on his behalf, or somebody in the cast had feelings for somebody, or I don't know. He was hinting to something I can't remember, so I'm not going to misquote him. But the real breaking point, or the straw on the camel's back, was when I was showing him a scene that I wanted to shoot. I had written out a whole shot list. I was literally writing out shot lists every day. I was drawing little caricatures, and I was writing down like exactly how the shots were supposed to be. Oh, this is a mid shot. This is a close-up shot. This is whatever, a wide shot. I was writing these out, and he said, I don't think that this part of the script is necessary. And again, this is my story. It was really cathartic for me. It was like therapy, because I had just gone this really traumatic thing with this guy that I thought that I had like fallen in love with. I wrote a story about it, and you're telling me that this part of the story is irrelevant? Who are you to literally say that this part of my life or my story is irrelevant? And I remember I had gotten up out of my chair. He got in the chair, sat in front of my computer, and literally deleted an entire page of script. An entire page of the script. And I let him. I literally let him. So I really do love and forgive this version of Atiya, because without her, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I see her, and I have much compassion for her. So fast forward, we're at the Halloween party now. I decided to just throw a cast party for everybody. Got dressed up real cute. But I remember a couple of weird things happened. Like, one, I needed to take a nap because I was utterly fucking exhausted. Somehow the model guy ended up asking if he could come to my house early. And I'm like, not really, but sure, fine. But I just need to take a nap. Like, I'm exhausted. He's like, okay. So I go in my room, I close my door, but now he's just outside in my living room, just like making noise and being loud. And while I'm literally trying to take a nap, I have this guy in my house randomly. Like, it was just a lot. It was too much. And again, me now would be like, no, I need my own time. You can come when the party fucking starts. I don't know what that was about. I really don't know why he felt the need to come early, whatever. So the party happens. He ended up having these two random friends come to my house that had nothing to do with the cast. He hadn't asked me if he could have them come. They came. They were the least like friendly of the group, so they messed up the whole vibe. My main co-star was like in a corner being quiet, and I knew for a fact that wasn't him, but I know how he is when he's around people that are not his people, and I get it. I was trying to hold shit down too. Nobody wanted to play the games I wanted to play. And when I say nobody, I mean the model guy and his two friends. Like, the vibe was just so fucked up. He kept turning the music up so loud, and I lived in Buckhead at the time, like a bougie place, not trying to be known as that person, and what's crazy is that while all this was going on, I remember I made notes, right, for all of my neighbors, and I said, hey y'all, oh my god, this is so eerie. I wrote notes telling them that I was documenting for my school, for a school project, an abusive relationship, and that some of the scenes were going to have some like loudness to them. So, just don't be alarmed or whatever the case may be. And now that I think about it, that is really fucking insane. Granted, there was a lot of emotional and mental abuse that happened within me and I'll call him the situationship at the time, before we were even in a relationship. So I wasn't lying, but it's just crazy how that really ended up projecting into my real actual life after that. And I wonder, if that's why when people heard me being abused, they weren't like, oh, let me help her. Like, they probably were like, this bitch is still shooting her web series like 2 years later. But no, I still think that they ain't shit. And I still feel like my neighbors just, I'm not going to say that they ain't shit, because they did what they could do with the tools that they had, which was nothing. But I just felt like my neighbors, I don't even know. I just felt like if I were my neighbor, I would have definitely called the cops or something. But I digress. So long story short, the party got crazy and I ended up leaving. Like, well, actually my co-star was gonna leave. And I remember I followed him downstairs and I was begging him not to go. I was like, you cannot leave me here. Like, you can't. We ended up sitting downstairs and just decompressing. We just vented to each other and just literally poured our hearts out to each other, expressed ourselves, expressed our frustrations, and talked a lot about everything that I basically just said in this web series, about how I felt like my videographer was really trying to step on my toes, and I felt like, the model guy was being inappropriate with showing his nude pictures and, trying to flirt with everybody and saying inappropriate things like, oh, well, if that was me in the sex scene, I would have done this, that, and the third. Not sex scene, but makeout scene. I would have done this, that, and the third. And how uncomfortable that made us, and how uncomfortable the unconsensual touching from my female co-star made us. And yeah, we were just literally venting. And the irony is that these are all things that I was going to share with these people face to face when we weren't drunk, but I was definitely going to share it with them, because I think we had like one more section, a small section maybe, of things to shoot. And I don't even know why I had the rap party so early, but I feel like we had a little bit more to shoot. And so I just needed to express this before we shot, because I wasn't going to look forward to shooting otherwise. Well, I didn't need to do that, because apparently my two co-stars, so the model guy and the girl, and then my videographer, had all snuck downstairs behind me and my main co-star and hid behind the wall so that they could eavesdrop and listen to every single thing that me and my co-star were talking about. Now, you'd probably are thinking like, oh, wow, like that's fucked up. And like, yeah, it's fucked up. But like I said, this is all stuff that I was going to say to their face anyway. So I think that they thought that they were going to like ambush me with this or whatever the case may be. So me and my co-star end up going back upstairs. He ended up spending the night. I let other people spend the night too. I remember the model and the girl had randomly like left afterwards. And because I remember telling them like, you're not fucking in my house. So just know that. Like, I remember saying that straight up. Like, you're literally not fucking in my house. Like, straight the fuck up. So whatever y'all need to do, don't do that shit here. So they went downstairs to the car. I don't know what they ended up doing in the car. I don't care what they ended up doing in the car. And then my videographer ended up leaving. And then the irony is, I think when they came back, because everybody started acting weird. Everybody was acting weird when we got back upstairs. It's almost like that, I have to use this sound for this. It's like that TikTok sound when it's like, oh, why is everybody treating me so weird? What is that? Like, why is everybody treating... You know that sound? Okay. So it's almost like that sound, but in my own house. So my videographer left. The model guy came back upstairs, and then the girl left. The model guy ended up still sleeping over at my house, which was the weirdest part about it, and then left my house at like 6 o'clock in the morning and took his bottle with him. Like, took his whole bottle of Crown Apple with him. Like, okay, brother, you do that. So fast forward, I get a call from the girl, the girl co-star, and she's like, hey, like, I just want to check in on you and see how you're doing, and see how you're feeling about everything, So I started talking to her about certain things that I felt, and next thing you know, she says, oh, well, I have him right here, because I started talking about the model guy. And I probably was talking about them and their relationship and how I felt like it was inappropriate, and on set specifically. And she's like, oh, well, I have him right here. So apparently he had been on three-way the entire time listening to me and her's whole conversation. This is one of the reasons why I actually very much so hate ambushes and ambush calls, because you literally, it's so unnecessary. It's so bad girls club. Like, I'm going to tell everybody this shit to their face. So you asked me how I felt. I'm telling you how I felt. This is how I felt. I'm going to tell them the same shit I just told you. So I tell them the same shit that I just told him, and then they act like they're all understanding. Oh, but then, this is before I knew what gaslighting was. I remember the model guy ended up like gaslighting me and saying I don't remember exactly what he said. I probably have it in a diary somewhere, but he definitely gaslit the shit out of me to make me feel like everything, all of my perceptions of everything was wrong. I was bugging. I was making it up. I just wasn't seeing it correctly, basically. And the girl was just going along with him because they were together. So it just made sense. So we hang up from them, and I told them, I said, I'm going to talk to my videographer. I'm going to literally call him next and express myself, because I think that they might have even ended up telling me that they heard me and his conversation, me and my co-star's conversation. I think that they might have shared that with me on the phone. And I'm like, and I said the same thing I just told y'all. I was going to tell y'all this anyway. So, I mean, and then you know what the craziest part about it is? They said that they only eavesdropped because they thought that there was something going on between me and my main co-star and wanted to like catch us in the act. How fucking crazy. You literally made up a whole fucking narrative in your mind because me and my co-star have an amazing ass relationship. Yeah. So that's what they claim. That's why they claim they followed us downstairs. That could have been a whole lie too. But anyways, so I told my co-stars I'm about to call the videographer and tell him exactly what I just told y'all and exactly what I was talking about downstairs, that there's no confusion about this because we still have shit to shoot. Because my Virgo ass, for whatever reason, was still determined to shoot with these people even though we had no chemistry anymore at this point. Of course, because of how this story has gone, I'm pretty sure that you probably already know, they reached out to my videographer before I could. Literally. Probably called him right after we hung up. Because I didn't take that much longer to call him shortly after that. And they basically lied on me. They made up a whole bunch of stuff that they projected that I said that I literally never said. So when I finally did call my videographer, he was so cold. He was so rude. I remember he raised his voice at me, and I remember laughing because one, I have a nervous laugh, and that has gotten me into a lot of trouble before. But I remember laughing because I'm like, there's no way that he thinks that he could yell at me like this. And then I'm going to take him seriously while he's yelling at me like this. So I started laughing, and I was like, what you're not going to do is yell at me. You're literally not going to react. He's like, I'm not yelling at you. And that made me laugh even harder. And then that made him not think it was even funny. That made him literally madder or more mad. Whew. So anyways, they, like I said, they lied on me, whatever. He wasn't hearing what I had to say. And I quite frankly didn't care because at this point, it was too much. This is too much. All I was thinking at that moment was I need to get this fucking footage because he's so livid at this moment that he literally could release my footage, right? What I'm about to say is very, 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 very petty. If you've listened to this far, then maybe it will still be in here, maybe not. But can we just talk about the fact that he had halitosis? So the fact that I had to literally stand there and listen and smell your halitosis throughout my shoot is enough for me to have attitude. But I didn't throw that in your face. I literally just was like, you know what? It's okay. It's a condition. He can't help it. Whatever. So I remember I reached out to him and I told him I needed him to sign this contract. I was done with Pure. I just needed the footage and I was done with this whole thing. It was just too much drama surrounding it. And I'm like, now I'm about to have to write Pure 17 because this shit is worth the film itself. I should literally make a film about me making a film and it being fucked up. So I told y'all that I had a GoFundMe. For whatever reason in my life, people believe that I have all this money, right? I think it's because I appear to be a very happy person. And I will never forget, and I have to forgive her at some point, but I remember I have somebody in my family who had reached out to somebody else in my family. And I'm talking about my blood family, and was like, I don't know why Atiya's asking for money when she literally has money. And that's not exactly what she said, but I'm trying not to throw them under the bus, so I'm just gonna say that. And for a long time, I actually really was my feelings were really, 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 really fucking hurt about that. And it's so funny because I go back and forth about if I even want to mention that or bring that up, but it's this is my truth. This is my truth. These people are totally different people than they were back then, and that is something that affected me. So it just is what it is. But it was really hurtful, and I remember, but girl, obviously, if I had the money, do you think that I would be out here begging for money? If I had it? If I literally had the money, do you think that I'd be asking for a GoFundMe who's literally going to take 20% of my funds? I feel they took more than 20%. I feel I had earned $2,000 and I did not walk away with that. I don't remember what I walked away with, but I know it wasn't that. I feel I barely walked away with a half of that. So anyways, I told my videographer that I needed him to sign this, not NDA, but this contract saying that he wasn't going to use any of the footage for himself. And he said that I need you to pay me for it. Yes, y'all. Yes. He literally charged me $750 to pay him. And then he told me that I had to pay his other person $250. This is the same guy that literally told me that I didn't have to pay him for any of the work that he did. I did not have this money to give. I literally did not. I just told y'all that I didn't even get all of the funds that I had made from GoFundMe. And in his mind, he probably saw that I had made the $2,000 and was like, oh, let me ask for this much. I did not have that to give. I think I had to pull from my own personal savings at that point. And that was the own personal savings that I was using for my move to Atlanta. So at this point, it's I'm trying to survive, my guy, and you're extorting me to sign this contract. So yeah, I ended up, getting the rest rest of my footage. He never ended up putting any of that out. And I was so terrified to share my story because I felt like, oh, if I do, he might like put Pure out before I could put Pure out and tell my story before I could tell my story, even though he signed this contract. I mean, obviously a contract is a contract. So at this point, you can't violate me the way that you want to. But yeah, that was that. So that was my experience with having Pure 1. Ended up being super like honestly affected by that. I don't even want to use the word depressed, but I was very affected. I was very discouraged. And yeah, I don't know where the motivation came from, but I'm sure it was after plenty of pep talks with my mom, her, and then I had another friend who, again, I don't know if she wants her name to be said on this podcast, but yeah, we had met doing background work, and she was just a really sweet soul. She was also a Virgo, and we all ended up coming together, me, her, and my mom, and reshooting every single thing in Pure. Reshot everything. I kept the main co-star the same, but everything else changed. All of the other characters changed for the better. I couldn't have asked for a better cast, y'all. I could not. Like this second cast was such a blessing, and I can't even, like, back in the day, I'm sure that I probably would have talked a lot of shit, and I'm very proud of how I presented this now, because once again, I really could have talked a lot of shit about everybody, and I know that I'm forgetting some things, but these people are who they are, and they were who they are when I cast them. And I was just going based off of other things when I cast them, not thinking about the energy and the vibe that I really needed on my set. And I felt like my second cast really gave me everything that I needed. We were joking it up. We were respectful of each other. We were practicing lines. We were getting the wardrobe down pat. Everybody took their job very seriously, and I really appreciated that. So what you see on my YouTube now is the new Pure the series with all of my amazing cast members. Seriously, I'm so grateful. So like I said, that's the story of Pure. So when I had Pure 2 and everything went down the way that it went down, I was like, I just felt so disappointed in everything. But like I said, just so ashamed, because I felt like I couldn't tell my cast, like, hey, y'all, I know I just cast all 14 of you or 17 of you, and I know that we just had these two, like, what's the word when you, like, table reads. Like, we had these 2 table reads. Everybody came to my mom's house. And everybody met everybody, and it was great. And I'm sorry to tell y'all that I was in an abusive relationship, and that's why I couldn't finish Pure 2. Like, it was very hard for me to say that. And then there were other logistical things, like people coming to set late, people being on their phones. People being on their phones during set and then not remembering their lines was a thing. Like, once again, my problem is that I make my sets so comfortable that people get too comfortable, and then it gets hard to wrangle that back in, right? And last but not least, dealing with my ex. I remember me and my ex used to play Sims, right? And in Sims, they speak Simlish, and it's like, zubadorp, zaba zubadu, like that's literally how they talk. And so he was supposed to like pantomime with one of my co-stars, and we were at my mom's house, and I was trying to record him, and I'm like, okay, babe, I didn't even know if I called him babe on set, but I was like, okay, I need you to just pantomime. And he's like, well, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, okay, so act like you're talking like Sims. You like make her laugh. Like, I want you to make her laugh. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, we literally play Sims together all the time. And I gave him an example, like Zaba Zoob Zorb, Zooby Dooby. And so like my co-star, she's cracking up, and he has an attitude. And then when it's time to start recording, he literally broke character mid recording and was like, I feel dumb. Like I feel silly. And it was just because he was so in his head and caring about what other people thought about him. There was another time where I needed him to act high. Nigga, we smoke every day. So act how you act every day. And he literally tried to make it seem like he didn't know how to act high. It was just little contrary things like that really made it hard to work with him. And it just made it hard for me to feel like I was being efficient on set. So that's what happened with Pure 2. For the people who want to know why it didn't come out, that's why. I was not in a healthy space at all. And then, honestly, I probably would have still tried to push through. But in December, I told you we had the holidays. Right before the holidays, I had the flu for like 3 weeks. And then right after that, in March or February, whenever. No, we broke up in February. And then COVID happened in March. So yeah, it was too much for me to handle. And then I remember just feeling really criticized. Like, I had another person in my cast who was a part of the original story. And I remember he was being so critical and was like, oh, that's not really how it happened. And I'm like, Negro, you were in your room for half of this story. So how do you know? Like physically you were in your room when all this drama was happening. So how can you tell me like what my perception of my story is? So, and then he didn't have a car. So we had to drive him back and forth. And he didn't have keys to his friend's house. So we had to go pick up keys from his friend's house. And literally we were like on our way home to my house to shoot for Pure 2 with some more cast members, and we had to take my other co-star, my friend, to his friend's house to pick up some keys. It was too much. Like, the lines were so blurred of friends and castmates, and it was too much. So that's the story of why Pure 2 didn't come out. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share this because y'all, like I said, I carried a lot of shame. So I feel like, I wonder how my life's going to change now that I've like expressed that. I feel like I should just send this podcast in an email and call it a day, but we'll see. I don't know. What do y'all think that I should do? Or you think I should just leave it alone? Like, we literally were supposed to shoot this in 2019. It's 2023. If anybody's holding their breath thinking that we're still going to shoot Pure 2, I'm so sorry. We're not. But yeah, it's sad because the script was actually really good. And I've even considered like I said, my videographer this time around was freaking amazing. Like, I cannot wait to work with him again. So it's sad because the footage that we did get was really, really, really fucking good. And it would be great if I could do something with that footage, but we'll see. So yeah, check out Pure the series, the official version, season 1, or the only season, on my YouTube, which is iloveatiya. Now let's take a mini pause and talk about sex toys because I feel like y'all come on here for me to talk about sex, but you know what's so crazy? I'm happy that I didn't name this like, Sex with Atiya or whatever the case may be, because this is literally the Loveatiya experience. So although it's a pleasure positive podcast, I'm really just here to talk about my life because I've had like a really astronomically amazing and intricate life. Traumatic, of course, but definitely been left with a lot of stories. So yeah, it's not always going to be about sex, but I do like to just throw a little bit of extra tidbits about pleasure here and there. Now, this actually goes out to all of my book lovers out there because as much as I shout out shopsador.com, also known as Sador, they have more than just sex toys on their website, right? So even if you are a little bit scared of having your sex toy shipped to you, although I've mentioned this so many times, their shipping is so freaking discreet. I get stuff in the mail from them all the time and I'm like, what is this? Like, what did I order? But then I'll peep like, oh my God, it's so discreet that I just totally forgot that this is a toy. And like one time I got a toy and it literally had 2 boxes inside before I actually got to the toy. So just know, like, if you're nervous about having stuff shipped to you, Sador is definitely the place to shop because their shipping is so freaking discreet. But they also have so many other things on their site. Like they have books, they have games, they have lubes, they have clitoral stimulants. Like everything that you need is on shopsador.com. And per usual, you can use the code LOVEATIYA to get 15% off of your order. So just keep that in mind when you're looking on that site. Even if you're a little bit nervous to dive into the world of sex toys, they have so many other things that you can purchase to really help you get in touch with yourself. I even was sent a deck of oracle cards that are like sexual oracle cards, but they're really like very intricate and I just love them and the graphics in them are beautiful. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do something called like Sexy Reads with Atiya or something like that on YouTube to where I can talk about or where I can read some of the books that I received from Shop Sador. So that we can just like talk about it because one of the books that I've been reading the most has been When Sex Hurts because I've had like a really interesting experience with like painful sex and it's really opened my eyes to so much and I've learned so much and I know I've shared excerpts on here before from that, but that's one of the many amazing books that Sador has. So definitely head to shopsador.com and be sure to use the code LOVEATIYA for 15% off. Also, have y'all heard of Tata ticklers? Okay, so if you haven't, they are earrings that are so long that they tickle your tatas. And they were actually created by my mom, who is an amazing creative who owns a jewelry company. And the jewelry company is called Imani Jewelry. And they've been in business for 40 whole years. And it actually started off with my grandmother. It was my mom and my grandmother both making jewelry. And my mom has carried on that legacy. So yeah, I'm so utterly proud. But one of the amazing things about Imani Jewelry, one of the many amazing things is that their earrings don't match. That's the tagline. Our earrings don't match. So anytime you see me on my YouTube or my TikTok, you'll see me wearing some fabulous accessories. Any earrings that you see me wear are guaranteed to be from Imani Jewelry. Like guaranteed. They use all natural materials and products and shells shells and beautiful things that come from the earth. And all the stones that they use have like amazing healing properties. And yeah, it's just beautiful. So you can use the code LoveAtiya and get 10% off of your order. So be sure to check out imanijewelry.com if you are into designer jewelry. All right, now it's time to get into the story about how I met my ex. And this one, I kind of want to give y'all a backstory of like the friendship that led to it, but I'm not going to dive too deep because it's really not that serious like the before, but it kind of is because I want to tell y'all about when I was sucking dick in the bathroom after being drunk off of Four Locos. But let's remember before I share this story that this is before I had self-esteem. Yeah, my self-esteem was at probably like a 0. Probably a 0. Thank God for my self-care company, Ethereal by Loveatiya, because I really feel like that has helped me love myself. Like I created this hair growth serum when I was 17 years old, but I never really did anything with it. You know, it literally grew my hair back after I got my edges ripped out. That's a story. But yeah, so I ended up recreating it when I was, I want to say 21, 22, and that's when Ethereal was born. But along with growing my edges back this time around when I was 21 with the renewal of my hair growth oil, I also created other products that were able to boost my self-esteem. For instance, I had acne my entire life due to stress, poor diet, hormonal issues, just so many things. And I used to use Indian healing clay or bentonite clay from this company from like Walmart, and I wasn't selling it or anything. I was just literally using it on myself. And one day I went to my closet and saw that it said that it contained lead in it. And I was like, fucking lead, like lead, like the poisonous substance lead. So I started doing research and realized like, wow, there's a lot of this on the market and nobody knows. So I created a safe clay, and that is with Razul clay. And it also has turmeric in it, and it's a healing clay and a detox clay. And that is what helped me heal my hyperpigmentation. When I started modeling like really intensely in Atlanta, I started wearing a lot of makeup. I actually wore makeup my entire life, like because of my bad acne. And it didn't help my acne, but I wore it. And I remember I'd gotten this cleanser from this company, and it literally made my face feel so dirty. And I was like, I want a product that makes my face feel clean. So I made it, and it also has raw turmeric in it and a whole bunch of other amazing ingredients. When I say a whole bunch of other ones though, not a whole bunch. Like I do pride myself on not having 3,000 ingredients in my recipes, and especially ingredients that you cannot pronounce. Like that is when you know that it's no good for you. I made rose water and a healing serum for my skin. I basically make what I need for my skin and for my hair. And then after I realized and learned that it works, after I do an extensive amount of research, because remember, I'm a Virgo, I put it on my website and sell it for Ethereal. So yeah, and then I also work with willing human testers because it is a vegan and cruelty-free company. So I don't test on animals. And so after months and months of research and then months and months of willing human testing, I put my products out. So I'm really excited about this product line, but I say all that to say that has been the catalyst in me having high self-esteem. And in these stories, you will hear that I had low self-esteem. So just know that this was before Ethereal. Also remember that I sent out coupon codes in my Pleasure Positive email blast. If you go to loveatiya.com/sign up, then, or just click, it's in my description. It's a free Pleasure Positive email blast that I send out once a month, but I send coupon codes in that so you can get money off of your purchase. So be sure to sign up for that and take advantage of that. But yeah, if you need some self-care tips or if you just need a self-confidence boost, then check out my website. All right, so I'm just going to tell the characters of this story because we're about to dive in. Story time part 2. I actually wasn't expecting to tell that pure story time, but it felt really fucking healing. So thank y'all for listening. We're going to get into the beginning of Pure, like Pure before Pure was ever even a thing. And also, just so you know, it was named Pure, this series, because I was a virgin. I feel like a lot of y'all should really know this by now. If you don't know this by now, after episode freaking 14, then what was you listening to? But I was a virgin until I was 24 years old. So all of this happened during my virginity. Now, let me just say, I was wildin'. When I say wildin', I mean I was exploring myself sexually in a very very free way. You know, I had moved to Atlanta in 2016, so this is really my first taste of being able to explore these things sexually in my own home. Doing that in my mom's home was very hard because, you know, her and I were both dating at the same time, like dating different people at the same time. So when she would go over to, you know, go out on a date or whatever the case may be, then I would be able to have a guy over, and even sometimes when she was home, I would be able to have a guy over, but I'm not gonna suck a dick while she's home. Like, that's so fucked up. So yeah, I definitely was refraining from doing a lot of things. What's crazy, how did that guy sleep over at my house when I was living in Queens? Okay, whatever, we'll figure that out another time. But let's dive into this because, like I said, I was exploring my sexual freedom at this point. So the first character I'm going to tell you about is April, and April was also a character in Pure. The thing about April in Pure was that April was actually a mixture of like 3 different friends at the same time in Pure, because I literally just did not have the space in my mind to be able to cast as many people as I needed to for Pure 1. And I think it's why I got like overwhelmed in Pure 2. So in the show, April is a combination of like 3 different people. But in this story, April is going to be one person, and she's going to represent the person that is like the main friend that I met that then brought me into her friend group. So April and I met doing background work. They used to say that we looked alike, so we called each other twins. You know, I have a very familiar fucking face. So a lot of my friends at some point have been called my twin. Not a lot actually. And I can absolutely admit that I definitely look very similar to the people that I've called my twin, or that have called me twin, or that other people have called us twins. So they're not bugging. But so this person was considered my twin, and like I said, we met doing background work, and all was well, you know. Now I do want to state that I think when I met all of these people, everybody, including maybe me, but you know, in 2015, I had the epiphany that I needed to live a more authentic life. And so I remember I was in this therapy program, and well, my therapist had this like self-healing program, and she facilitated these workshops and stuff. And so one time we had to pull a card at one of these workshops, and one of the cards that I pulled was authenticity. And at first I was like, why the fuck did I get this? Like, everybody else got so many like self-love, self-harmony, and I got authenticity. But it ended up very much so being the thing that stuck with me throughout my life, because I want to just live more authentically. So I think that I was already on that mission when I moved to Atlanta, because I moved that next year. So when I met the people that I'm about to tell you about, I think that they were putting on who they wanted to be, and that's okay. It's a very human thing, but I didn't realize that until it was kind of too late. So anyways, April and I met, and eventually she started bringing me around her friends, her friend groups. We started doing the same castings together. So if I had a model casting, I'd bring her along, vice versa. We put each other onto certain things. It was really cool. At some point, we ended up doing a music video shoot together. And I don't think that we even really got cast for it. Like, I don't think we put each other onto it. I think we just both so happened to be there. And I don't know why, I feel like I remember her getting there late, and she knew another guy that was on that set. We're going to call that guy Dusty, because that's what he was. But we're going to call him Dusty. And long story short, me and Dusty somehow ended up keeping in touch after this music video shoot, right? But I didn't know like what her history with Dusty was. I just knew that they knew each other. That was just that. And what's crazy is that I'm thinking back to this music video shoot, like, what shoot was this? Like, what were we all doing there? Like, 'cause there was a lot of people in there. And where is the footage from this? Like, why? What happened? But, you know, I'm sure that people say that about Pure too. So anyways, so I remember that me and Dusty ended up actually having some type of like situationship eventually. We never dated, never went out on dates from what I can remember. My very first remembrance of Dusty actually was texting him and opening my phone and randomly seeing his dick in my phone. And that was probably one of the first like surprise dick pics that I got. Maybe even the first dick pic no. Was it? No. No, I don't think it was the first dick pic I had ever gotten, because Snapchat had been out by then, and I'm sure I've gotten dick pics on Snapchat, but I do remember seeing his dick. So yeah, he sent me a dick pic, and it's funny because it's not funny, but one of the reasons why me and my dad ended up having like a really bad fallout in 2017 was because of this dick pic. Not necessarily because of it, but for whatever reason I shared that I was, and we talked about this, and it wasn't necessarily the dick pic, it was the fact that I let somebody violate me in that way. Like, he felt like it was just so beneath me to receive a dick pic. And then, like, why would I share that with him? You know what I'm saying? And there were other reasons why we fell out as well that he expressed. But I think that definitely kind of contributed to it, honestly. Or at least that's what I believed at the time. But I think he was just sad that, like, I allowed this guy to disrespect me in such a way. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I just got this dick pic. I don't know how I shared it with him. Again, like, who tells their dad that? So anyways, I remember I got a dick pic, and that was extremely disrespectful. But for whatever reason, I was aroused by it. I was like, oh, yay, let's do that. I love this. We ended up having an extremely sexual relationship, me and this guy Dusty, and I will never forget. And I was always now back in the day, I was a self-proclaimed alcoholic, right? When I tell you I was throwing back shots, I used to get fucking sloshed, and my claim to fame was that I had never been hungover until I found out what hangovers actually are, and then I very much so had been. But I felt like I could quote unquote handle my liquor pretty well. I was just a whore, but otherwise I handled it well. Like, I didn't fight people, you know, so that was good. I liked being a whore drunk and not like fighting drunk. So I remember this one time, just to give you some like context, rewind. before I even give you the context. So I was at a model call with April, and April and I were talking in the back, and I remember we were getting dressed, and I said something about me and Dusty and how I was seeing him later. And she was like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know that you and Dusty were, like, really a thing like that. And I was like, yeah, like, we've been talking a lot. And she said, oh, okay, well, you know, I just want to be honest with you, like, me and Dusty used to have like a little bit of a thing, but nothing serious on my end. All we did was make out. That was it. Like, we just made out. That was all. Like, you know, you don't have to feel bad about it. I don't care, you know, like, just live your best life. I'm like, oh, okay. I feel a little bit weird about that, but thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate it. And if you say it's cool, then I guess I'll go for it. I'll continue to go for it. I want to say that me and Dusty were together like that night or that weekend, and I remember he had brought over Hennessy. Hennessy is my downfall in life. Dark liquor is my downfall, as is tequila, as is vodka, as is liquor in general. But Hennessy is the devil. So I remember we had taken shots of Hennessy, and that's the thing about it is like, in this predatory nature of things, he was always trying to get people drunk, and he was always trying to get me drunk. And that has been a pattern in my life of like predators, right? So anyways, I was sloshed. I went to go get us waters because I was so sloshed. I was living in my apartment in Buckhead at the time. And I remember, I guess the door had closed behind me, right, of my bedroom. And I was in the dark, and I was skipping to the fridge. I grabbed my bottles of water, and I'm literally skipping back to my door and said, thwap, my entire face. I literally slammed my entire face into my door. My door was white. I remember what happened after that, I really actually don't remember. But I do remember at some point we turned on the lights and my whole face was on the door. Like, all of my makeup was on the door. Like, I had an entire face print. And I hope that you envision that. It was very funny at the time. Now it's very sad. But that shit was really fucked up. So anyways, we ended up going back into my room, probably like gave him head. He probably fingered me, whatever. And then I remember we were talking afterwards, and he was like, yo, did you know about me and April or whatever? And I was like, yeah. I mean, she literally just told me. It's crazy that you bring that up. Like, she literally just told me that, you know, y'all had like messed around and made out, you know, like, and then that was it. And he said, like, she said that was it? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, no, we gave each other head. And I was like, you did. You said what? You said you did what? And he was like, no, we gave each other like oral. And I even want to say that he said that they tried to have sex, but it just didn't work, or it was weird, or I don't even know. I don't even want to add that to it, but I feel like there was more to it. But I do remember him saying that like they gave each other oral. And I was like, first of all, now from what I know about her now, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they fucked. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised by that. But it was just the fact that I feel like she gave me a half-truth. So that had me looking at her a little bit like, my trust is just a little bit gone right now. Because what would be the point of him lying about this? This can definitely stop him from getting pussy right now. Not even pussy, but this can stop him from getting whatever the fuck I was about to give him. So anyways, I tried to be cool about it, I guess. I remember I asked him a couple of more questions, and then we had fallen asleep holding hands. And then that's when he cut me off for 2 weeks after that, after I had his dick in my throat, because he said that we were getting too close. Like, it was getting too emotional for him. Falling asleep, holding hands, and then waking up and still holding hands, that was too fucking much for him. A bitch was about to walk down the aisle, apparently, in his mind. So, yeah, so Dusty kind of fell back for a while and then came back. But I remember that April had then introduced me to her friend, and we're going to name her Nia. Now, I think that there was a character in Pure named Nia. I can't quite remember what their thing was. I think might have been in Pure too. I can't remember, but we're going to make Nia be somebody else in this story. Nia had just gotten an apartment in student housing and was going to have like this grand like party, like this housewarming party, right? So I just wanted to get over Dusty. Like, I was over it. I just felt like he cut me off. I was miserable. Like, I was lonely, whatever. But I kind of felt like he might be there. And then I remember we had gotten a call from Nia, and she was like, yo, guys, Dusty's over here. He's so drunk, and he's like trying to make a move on me. And I'm fucking pissed, because I'm like, nigga, how many homies are you going to smash? Like, you not smash, because apparently he didn't smash any of us. But how many people are you going to really flirt with, like, in the same friend group? So I was pissed about that. I remember we like rushed over there. We got there. He was there acting an ass. I was ready to get drunk because I was just fucking done. And like, that's how I just disassociated from life. That's why I can't remember a lot of things that happened in that portion of my life. But I do remember these things. But I remember that Nia was like, look, I want to have a party. This guy's acting weird, Dusty. Like, let's do something. So we literally went around her apartment complex on her floor, and we're knocking on everybody's door saying, like, we're having a party. Come over to a stranger's house. Let's have these strangers come over to your house, because that's like a great idea. So we go around the whole circle of her lobby, or of her hallway, knock on all the doors. We get to the last and final door, and it's these two guys, right? Two black guys. Now, I say that because, like, the first group of people that we knocked on their door, it was like a Indian family. It was like 6 of them. I was like, why are y'all all in here? But okay, come on through. So, like, why y'all all in the same house? Like 6 of y'all? But okay, so come on through. So they all came through, and then, like, a couple of other random stragglers came through, but I can't really remember, like, who, because it was like a random guy, and then I don't know. But the 2 guys we're gonna mention are Amari and Latif. Now, Amari is the one that ends up being my boyfriend later on, and Latif is the guy that I end up considering, like, my best friend, quote unquote, right? Okay, so we see Amari and Latif, and to me, it played out how it plays out in Pure, to where I felt like the world moved in slow motion. I saw these fine-ass people, like, I don't know, I felt like they were both really good-looking people, and I felt like they had really good spirits, and I don't know, they were just 2 young black guys, like, yo, so we told them about the party, and they were like, yo, bet we're coming. Bought over a bottle, which I thought was dope. And then we had found out that we were all from New York. Me, Amari, and Latif. And I was around all these fucking Georgia people. When I tell you, even when I would go out with April and Nia, like, they would just all be so oblivious to life. Like, I don't know, if you have friends that grew up in Georgia, there's something different. Like, the awareness, the scale of awareness is just off. I don't know what the problem is. But for whatever reason, me and Georgia friends, we just had a different, we'd go out to the club, and they were under 21. I was 21, they were 20. So they would get people to buy them drinks, right? But I remember one time this guy went to go get them a drink, and they weren't even looking at the bar. They were literally looking away. And I'm like, what if he put some shit in y'all's drinks? Like, and he bought me a drink over. I did not drink that shit. I put that shit right down and told them, like, I'm not drinking this, because you weren't even looking at what he was doing with your drink. So they drank that shit. They might even drink my drink, to be honest with you. So yeah, that was interesting. So it was nice to have friends, like, with awareness like that from New York. And I had always craved, like, guy friends, and I had always loved that. So, and I missed that. I felt like I had that in the beginning of my life. So anyways, and then me and these guys, they came over. We had a fucking blast. We all ended up getting fucking sloshy drunk, mad jokes. We played mad games. I remember my ex had gotten so drunk that he passed out on the couch. And I remember I had put my jacket over him. And then Latif was, like, cuddled up with Nia, but it was weird because Nia had a boyfriend, but she was on and off with the boyfriend, and the boyfriend's name was France. We're just gonna call him France. And he was, like, out of town or something, so they were like, oh, okay, what's up with her and Latif? But whatever, like, it just seemed like that was a thing, like, they were cuddled up. And then, like, the party ended. Why do I feel like I ended up going over to Latif's house? Why do I feel like I might have even ended up... Did I spend the night over there? Why do I feel like me and April went over there that first night and spent the night? If it wasn't that night, then it was probably another night. Oh, let me give you another just glimpse of where my mind was at the time. I remember before any of this happened... So before we went over to, I guess maybe like the day before, I had been on background. I had been doing background acting, and I met this guy. And we're going to call him Liar. And I remember I thought that Liar was my fucking soulmate, because that's just what I do. Like, I just be thinking that these niggas is my soulmates, and they're not. So Liar told me that he was 21 and that he was a dancer, and he was that. That's the only true thing he said. He said he was a Virgo, and oh, I told him that my nickname was Lola, and he was like, stop. No, stop. My car that I crashed last year, I named my car Lola. No, I did. He was like, that was my car's name. I was like, oh my God, you are my man forever and ever. So the night that I met Latif and Amari, I had learned that Liar was actually 18. I went on his Instagram and scrolled down to his last birthday and saw that this Negro was freaking 18 years old. What, are you fucking nuts? That's a large fucking jump to go from 18 to 21. So obviously I cut him off. But that was just so sus to me. So I was falling, like, it was that. Like, it was I was so pressed to have somebody in my fucking life that loved me. And Liar was one of them. Dusty was another one. So yeah, I just, at this point, just, like, was craving male energy. So I think that the party ended. I actually don't think that I spent the night at their house that night. But I do think that Nia had another party like that same week. And they ended up coming over. And Dusty was there. And I remember I was lit off of Four Loko. And I don't even know how we got in the bathroom, but I remember we were in the bathroom, we were making out, and from what I remember, I was on the counter getting head. Like, I remembered him giving me, like, sloppy head. I don't even know why I had to say sloppy, but we were fucking drunk off Four Loko, so what other way could it be? And then, according to other people, I was sucking dick. Now, I posted a status on Instagram saying the time that I sucked dick, but I'm like, did they gaslight me into believing that I was sucking dick? Because I really believed that I was getting head. And then they also said they thought that we were fucking. We definitely were not fucking. And I probably did suck his dick because I was wilding. So whatever. We're just going to say I sucked his dick. I'm not ashamed of it. I was sucking dick. So did that. But I remember when we came out, like, everybody, like, fell back from the door. Like, everybody's ear was fucking pressed on the door. Everybody fell the fuck back. So that was crazy. Like, I never thought that I would be that girl. Oh my God, I was that girl. And it's crazy because once again on TikTok, I think I said I was 22, but I actually think that I was 21 when I do the dates but it was 2017. So I still feel like I was 21. But anyways, that happened and my ex never let me live that shit down. But fast forward, I remember we went over to Amari and Latif's house and we're chilling over there. It was me and April. And then we just started bonding. But Amari wasn't always around because Amari had a girlfriend. And so Amari would be in his room and he was just kind of antisocial. Like, he was just like an oddball. Like, but for whatever reason, I like that aloof shit, right? But like, Latif was the friend that I had always wanted in my mind. Like, he was always, like, really, I don't even know how to describe our friendship because I feel like my view is skewed based on what it ended up being, you know? So it's hard for me to go back, but I do remember he had my back a lot, like, times where I really feel like I needed it. So I am grateful for those times, really, truly. And then, like, there were just certain things I felt kind of kismet, right? Like, with our friendship. So I remember one time, I feel like, I don't know why they didn't go out with us. Maybe it was a money thing. I don't really know what it was. But I remember because we were all college students. We were fucking broke. So, I mean, I wasn't a college student, but they were. So it's not like we were big balling. But I remember me and April, and then she had this friend named Leah. Now, Leah came off as a bitch. I'll be honest with you. But it's ironic because me and Leah ended up actually being cooler than me and April at a point. But me and Leah, I don't even know. I don't know what it was about Leah, but she put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Even April, to the point where April would talk shit about her. And I'm like, isn't that your best friend? Like, literally, April and Leah consider each other to be best friends. So it was kind of weird that she, like, flipped the switch on her like that. They used to, like, go off on each other at parties and in the car and stuff like that. Because, like I said, Leah was a bitch at the time. So it was just a lot. But I remember thinking sometimes, like, if April could do all that to Leah and they're supposedly best friends, like, what the fuck is she saying behind my back, you know? So it was me, April, Leah, and maybe Nia. And we all went to this party. Why do I feel like it was like a celebrity party? Whose party was this? I actually can't remember. But it was was it Halloween? I was so drunk looking back on it. Because I remember I was in the bus. Oh my God. I remember I was in the bus and I made up a song and it was like, my vagina. My vagina. And it was, I have to find that video. Where are those videos? It might be on my Snapchat, but it was like, I have to pee, like, my vagina. And it was something else with it, though. Like, oh my God, I just remember that part. But I was twisted when I got there. So I can only imagine how twisted I was once the party was done. I remember that I remember we went to the bathroom and we were all singing the vagina song again. That was really funny. And then I think that Dusty was at this party, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like he was there and I was like, fuck you, nigga. And then I remember this other guy that I had a crush on, he was a Sigma. And he was at this party. And I remember at the end of the night, I was panicked because I lost my phone. And that really fucked me up because I obviously needed my fucking phone. Like, I was fucked up. And then obviously I was drunk. So it was a very, very big deal for me. So the Sigma ended up taking me, like, around it was like a mansion. It literally was like, what the fuck party was this? Because I remember we took a school bus to get to the location. So that's what I'm saying. Like, was it a celebrity's party? But we were so young. But anyways, we went to this location and took the school bus, met the Sigma, party's over, lost my phone. We went to look around the mansion or whatever. My friends were also trying to look. Well, they claimed that they were looking around, but, like, I feel like they were all with the nigga. Like, I really don't think that they were literally looking around. But anyways, the Sigma ended up getting me into this room, and I remember us like making out of nowhere, like making out. And then I also thought I was in love with him. So that was great. And I had such a crush on him. So I'm like, oh my God, like I'm making out with my crush. Wow, this is amazing. Like I had this fucking sauce back in the day. What they call that now? Riz? What do the kids call it? Riz? I had that. Cause I was definitely pulling niggas. Like I can't even lie. That's maybe why I'm so sick of them now. Like I had my fair share. But we made out, and I remember the person that helped me find my phone was this light-skinned guy. The light-skinned guy ended up getting in the Uber with me and all the girls, and we went to Waffle House that was like down the block from the student housing that Nia lived in, right? So Latif met us down there, and we all ate in Waffle House. Come to find out, the person that ended up finding my phone, the light-skinned guy, was Latif's cousin. It was crazy. Like, because I remember us thinking, like, yo, why is he following us home? Like, who is this guy? Like, yes, he found my phone, but, like, why is he still with us? Like, why is he in the Uber with us? You know, and I guess he was just trying to make sure we were safe. I don't even know. But anyways, he ended up being Latif's cousin, which is crazy because maybe it was even before we went to Waffle House. Maybe we went to Latif's house first and then went to Waffle House, because I remember Nia lost her keys. And then Nia ended up, because she was the one that lived in the student housing. Nia lost her keys or left. I don't even know. We were just losing shit because we were, like I said, we were drunk as fuck. So we were locked out of her house. And I ended up calling Latif, and he was up, and he let us sleep over at his house. So that was super kind. Like, I really appreciated that. And, like, Latif's the type of guy where, like, you could lay in his bed and he wouldn't try nothing with you. And that was really rare for me, you know? So I really appreciated that. So we were all cuddled up in his bed. I feel like Nia ended up being able to get into her. No. Wait, did Nia lose her keys, or did April lose her keys? Did April lose her car keys, or was April too drunk to drive home? No, but somebody lost their keys. I think that Nia lost her keys. Did I lose my keys? I don't know. Somebody lost their keys because I was fucking drunk, but all I know is that we ended up sleeping over at Latif's house, and then we realized that was his cousin that had like taken us there, which is crazy. We went to Waffle House and then went back up to his house and slept. Okay. That next morning we woke up. Amari came in. We were all talking and bonding. Okay. That's that story. Later on, I remember there being another story of how we had all gone out to this silent party, and it was one of the best nights of my life ever. Like, I remember I'm always losing shit. So I remember I didn't know that Latif and Amari were going to come, and they had pulled up in the car with Nia, and I was so excited. And when we got inside, we had mad fun. I don't have to take y'all down like the loops of how much fun we had, but I remember I lost one of my favorite earrings, and I was so sad because it was an earring that my mom had made for me, and I was just so sad. So me and Amari had gone around and looked for the earring, and I really appreciated that. Somehow I ended up giving Amari the title of like my best friend, which was weird because like we really had not spent a lot of time together. If anything, me and Latif had spent more time together, so that just made more sense. There's a dog outside that is wowing, but we're not gonna let him stop the show. So had a great time. I was like, oh my God, he helped me find my earring. Well, I never actually found it, but like he really helped me search for my earring. I feel like that was really nice of him, because otherwise we had a relatively like tumultuous relationship. As much as I said he was my quote unquote best friend, like he treated me like shit. I remember one time we were in the hallway playing, ended up play fighting. Don't do that. Like, this is one word of advice I would give to girls around the world. Like, do not play fight. First of all, somebody always gets hurt, i.e. usually you. Second of all, it just perpetuates the factor of like, oh, you know, we're playing, putting hands on each other, and then that shit leads to more serious shit in my lifetime it had. So, and my mom and dad always told me, like, do not play fight. That was just the narrative that they both stood by. And I was like, they're just parents. So yeah, definitely I stand by that now. Don't play fight. But I remember he had like slammed me into the door in a stairwell, and then locked me in the stairwell, and I couldn't get out because I didn't have like a key fob or a key. And I actually want to say that Latif or maybe like April came and got me. So yeah, I remember that. Like, it's on video. But fast forward, one day I was at Nia's house, and I remember Nia was like, yo, I have some tea for you. And I'm like, what the fuck is the tea? And she's like, Amari told me that he has feelings for you. And I'm like, what? What? Because in my head, I'm like, he has a whole girlfriend. He literally has a whole ass girlfriend. And she said, yeah, like, you know, he's really struggling with that. Like, you know, he just is really feeling you. And he told me, like, he didn't know what to do about it or whatever. So I'm like, oh, shit. So ever since I had found out that information, everything just kind of changed, you know? I'll never forget the day that we went over to his house, and his girlfriend was there. And I'm going to call her T. And that was her name in Pure. And she was there. And she, first of all, she was, like, always hiding out in the room. Like, she never, and Amari would be in Latif's room with us chilling. And she would be in Amari's room, and I'm like, you what about your girlfriend? Like, that's literally been in the other room, and you just isolated her, like quarantined her, and she's just not allowed to come out and interact with us. But I don't know if that was a choice or what that was about, but I always said that was very, very strange. But when she finally came out, she had such an attitude, and I remember asking her, I was like, what's your name? Like, hey, girl. Like, she sat at the table with us, and I was like, what's your name? Because she was so fucking low vibrational. Like, I felt, I don't know, just off vibes. And she was like, and I was like, wait, what's your name? And she's like, and then I was like, I didn't want to ask again. And then she was like, just call me T, or whatever her actual name was. But I was like, okay, this is fucking awkward. So I met her. So that was even more awkward. And oh God. Okay. So the timeline of things after this gets very, very blurry, but I can just say that I know that I met them in January. So I met that friend group and Amari and Latif in January. And I want to say that things ended, right? So, like, we kind of fell back from each other, me and Amari and Latif, in February. So, a lot, like, the end of February, because I had a trip with my dad that was definitely taking place in the middle of February. So, maybe it was the middle of February that it ended. But, yeah, the timeline of how much shit went down within 2 months is insane. So for whatever reason, I remember, I should have just probably watched Pure before this, because I really don't remember the logistics of it all, and maybe I'll remember in the future episodes. But I do remember that one night, I spent the night, well, I had gone over there with it was April. Me and April were supposed to hang out with each other, right? April was my twin. And we were supposed to hang out at my house, and I got a FaceTime call from either Amari or Latif, and they're like, yo, what are y'all doing? And I was like, nothing, like, just hanging. And they're like, come over. So April was kind of pissed, though, that we went over there, because she was like, oh, you know, I have an audition tomorrow, and I just want to hang out with you. Now, I told y'all that sometimes in these friendships, like, they be giving lesbian crushes. Like, they just be giving, I have a big lesbian crush on you. Now, it's nothing wrong at all with her wanting to just hang out with me at all. But it was just, like, the vigor of aggravation that she had regarding me wanting to go hang out with them. Like, it was very interesting considering she was just as guy crazy. So, anyways, we got over there. She had an attitude. She ended up going to sleep over at Nia's house after a while, and then I just hung out with Amari and Latif. Now, Amari's girlfriend was over, and I don't even know if this was the same night. I don't know if this could have been the same night. I'm not sure, but we're just gonna say this was the same night. No, it wasn't the same night. Okay, so I remember I ended up leaving with April. April, like, blacked. Like, her representative went all the way out the motherfucking window, and she blacked on me and was like, I just don't think it was right that you had me sleeping over at Nia's house when you knew I had an audition. You knew we were supposed to spend time together in SZN2. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Whoa. And you know, I'm a people pleaser, so fucking people up like that be fucking me up. So that was that. But at some point I ended up back over at the house, and I remember I was making videos with Latif, and then I guess Latif fell asleep, and Amari wasn't in the room because his girlfriend was over. And I remember hearing Amari's girlfriend leave, and I want to say he might have texted me, but somehow I ended up in his room. And I see it so vividly too. And I remember sitting on his chair and talking to him about how, like, you know, Nia had told me that he had feelings for me or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I thought it was fucked up that he had a girlfriend. And then it was also fucked up that he had these rules regarding his relationship, right? So, for instance, he told me that his girlfriend was never allowed to spend the night. And I thought that was so fucked up. Now, I can't remember how long they were together. Why do I want to say like a year? Like, it had been a really long time. I knew he had also told me, like, in the midst of me knowing about, like, his crush on me, he also told me about this other girl who was a friend of his friend who we're going to call Dolly. I think he also met his girlfriend through Dolly as well. And this other girl that he met, he was telling me how fine she was and how thick she was and how she was the perfect girl, this, that, and the third. But I'm like, Negro, you know that you like me, and I think you know that I like you, so why are you telling me this? Like, why are you? But in my head, I'm like, we're best friends, so it's okay. You can tell me this. Anyways, I ended up talking to him that night, ended up making out with him, sleeping in his bed. I remember I wore a shirt from him that next day because for whatever reason I didn't have clothes. I don't really remember why. And again, this is not the same night that I went over there like with April. It was a different night, but I remember I thought it was Kismet because he had a shirt that looked exactly like my cat, Tam. And I'm like, oh my God, like there's a cat on this shirt and it looks just like Tam. I'm gonna keep it. And I did keep it up until I moved to Mexico and then I threw it in the trash. And that was really, really, really healing for me too. I took a picture with it though, took some selfies, but otherwise probably get rid of those too. But, you know, I'm a little bit sentimental when it comes to just like past shit before it got really, really bad. But when I verbalize it, I'm like, this was bad. And yeah, there's a lot more to this story, but we are at our time capacity for this episode. I have like maybe 10 more minutes, but I just wanted to end it with a masturbation tip or with like a self-pleasure tip or even just with like a sex tip. And the sex tip that I actually want to end it on, but first of all, I guess I should just conclude, like I will do a part 2 of this story in my next episode, and we're going to talk about what happened after that within like the rest of the month that we had together from what I can remember. We're also going to talk about spring break because that was fucking crazy. And I'm pretty sure that I can squeeze both of those into the next episode. So yeah, stay tuned. But I thank you for listening to this whole section of the story. It was definitely very, very, very interesting to recap now at this point in my life because I think that back in the day I would have been having like heart palpitations and anxiety and all this stuff. And now I feel very peaceful talking about it, especially when it comes to the pure stuff. Like that was a lot for me. You know what I'm saying? It was a fucking lot just trying to have a therapeutic experience and then have that all tainted by somebody who was mad at themselves, I guess. I don't really know what the problem was. Like, it was really, it all came out of nowhere. You know what I think it is? And I just want to go back to this for a second. I remember the videographer, the first one, the one that low-key extorted me. I remember that he kept saying, like, he went to film school. He went to film school for this and this, that, and the third. He had all this knowledge. And there would be certain things that I would want in my series. Like, I would want camera looks. And he would say, like, no, you can't break the fourth wall, like, in your film. So, like, you know, The Office, where they look at the camera when stuff happens, like, as if, like, are you peeping this shit? You know, I wanted that. And he was like, no, you can't do that because it's not right in film. There was another time when I wanted him to shoot over somebody's like left shoulder, and he was like, no, in film school I learned that you're supposed to do over those shoulder shots only on the right shoulder for perspective purposes. Does it fucking matter what side? It's my fucking film. Like, I want it on the left side or the right side, whatever. So yeah, little things like that. I think that I did what he always wanted to do. And I think that he was mad that he went to school to do this and still hadn't accomplished what I had accomplished with this. Hence some of the bitterness. That's all I can really consider because, or he had a major crush on me and was mad because I wasn't feeling him. I don't know. It was one or the other. It's water under the bridge now. I wish everybody the best, truly and utterly, because I wish myself the best shit. So I just feel like I need to like speak that because I don't feel like anybody ever knew. Like, I had filmed a whole version of Pure that had never been released, and of Pure 1, and that's why. and I know people didn't know why I ended production for Pure 2. So yeah, thank y'all for listening to that portion of the story as well. And to end it with a masturbation tip, or with a self-pleasure tip, honestly, more so. Beforehand, I do want to say that y'all already know, if you're looking for plant medicine, if you're looking for herbs to be delivered to you, or to be shipped to you, then you can head to heavenhighnyc.com. Be sure to sign up for their menu, and then when you order, mention the name loveatiya, and you will get a special item. I'm so excited. I love it so much. I've heard rave reviews, but I'm not surprised because I have literally been supporting Heaven High for forever, or like since I was put onto Heaven High, and it's literally like I've been inseparable ever since. Like, I have not gone back. So yeah, I got so tired of chasing down budmen and being scammed by plant medicine people that I'm so grateful to have finally found like a reputable company. So be sure to check out Heaven High NYC and mention my name. Now, with that being said, the self-pleasure tip is use toys with your partner. I feel like we have not talked about this enough, and I feel like specifically for hetero couples, guys usually feel so intimidated by the fact that that women that women desire toys sometimes, or the fact that women enjoy toys. And I think that you should really look at toys as a teammate and not as your competition, because it can literally enhance your sex life and your partner's sex life. I remember my boyfriend one time had like made the vibrator touch his penis, and he was like, oh, that's a fucking sensation. And he left it on there for a while. So yeah, I just know that it's supposed to bring everybody pleasure. And there are certain brands like WeVibe. I know shopsadora.com carries the WeVibe Nova, which your partner can operate from their phone. But they have a couple of other vibrators from WeVibe that are designed to insert within you while your partner is also within you, so that you can both feel the vibration, you can both feel the pleasure. So definitely check out any WeVibe products from shopsadora.com. And again, you can use the code LOVEATIYA for 15% off. But I love you so much. Please give yourself a hug for me. And don't forget to be kind to yourself and to be kind to animals. And I'll see you next time. Mwah.